Rajni sir said yes. It was like, it took us a close to, like a couple of days to even digest the fact that, okay, I think we are actually going to work on this.
As an editor, you're watching a scene some 1,000 times, trying to make a very logical decision whether they should be there or not. So you will lose interest in that scene. So how do you still get yourself on that table and say, no, this is what we are looking at?
I think most editors have this inborn ability not to get attached. For an example, Vasandabalan sir, whom I worked with, he prefers to sit down with me while I edit.
For Kavya Talaivan.
For Kavya Talaivan, okay. Yes. On the other opposite direction, if you look at Venkat Prabhu, he doesn't come to the edits at all. He says, you finish it. I'll come back and watch it once you're done with it. That's all. One of the fans messaged me and said, if you're going to chop off any Rajni sir scenes, make sure that you put it across and keep it safe so that when we want it, we'll ask you. Since you met him, we all wanted to take pictures with him and everyone was like, how do we ask him? For me, it took me like close to, I was like shivering for the next 2 hours. When they say the editor could have speeded up things, the editor could have, paced up things, all that is like, I feel it is nonsense. And everyone who watched the teaser wanted it to be, played back like twice or thrice.
I know, right? Yeah.
So that kick itself, when you get that in the edit room, once it goes out for sound, sound mixing, RR and all that, it is only going to go higher up from there.
Praveen sir, thank you so much for joining us. And what can I say? Like, everybody's talking about Kabali, 23 million hits for that teaser alone, and so much anticipation. And you've been one of the very few crew members who's been very accessible to a lot of people, right? So I'm sure a lot of people are giving you a lot of feedback as the editor of Kabali. And so what is the best compliment that you've heard from people?
The teaser's reach was phenomenal, and we never expected it to reach to come to that level. Actually,
even for a Rajni film.
Not 23 million. We know it would get to some point, but not this. So that's created a kind of like curiosity among the people as to what the whole film is going to be about, and there's a lot of conversation going on Twitter. All the fans have been sending us requests, what to include, what not to include, and how we should present Rajni sir.
Oh, they are directing the film.
Yes. So you'd be surprised if I tell you there hasn't been a day since this project was announced where I didn't get any, suggestions or advices or whatever.
What's the craziest advice or suggestion that you've got?
Just now, like an hour ago, one of the fans messaged me and said, if you're going to chop off any Rajni sir scenes, make sure that you put it across and keep it safe so that when we want it, we'll ask you to put it across online. And I'm like, okay, fine.
It's always like they're putting a knife on your throat.
No, it just goes on to prove how much of fan following he still has.
True.
I think this is like the third gen of Rajni fans, and everyone's crazy about the film. There have been people have been trying to imitate his look patterns, his hairstyles, his beard, his clothes, everything you can name it.
Right.
So it's kind of like, how do I put it? The hype itself is a little scary for us, because as in, we don't want them to come in and understand that this is like whatever they project is. We're trying to match it up to their expectations. So let's see.
Right. Now, as an editor, you've worked on more than 60 films. It's a great run. Like what, less than 10 years now, is it?
Less than 10. Yeah.
No, so you, on an average, how many films are you working on, or any given point of time?
About 8 to 10 is generally where we stand.
8 to 10 at any given point of time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's for the past 3 years. It's gotten a little. The volume has gone up because a lot more projects were coming along my way, and all of them were either friends or great and exciting projects and bigger ones.
So you couldn't say no to any of them.
No, that's one part. You'll also want to be part of your friend's vision.
True.
So that has been what I've been trying to do. It is also exciting projects because everyone's trying to make something new, and to be. I should thank God for making me part of all these ventures. So hopefully this run continues.
Right. Now, you've been working with Ranjit, the director of Kabali, right from his first film, Attakati.
No, actually, Attakati I didn't work.
Okay.
I didn't work on Attakati. Madras was when.
But you knew him before, right? Because
No, I don't know. I know Ranjit way since Chennai 28 Days because he was working for Venkat Prabhu. He
True,
was one
right.
of the assistant directors. So I've known him since then.
Okay.
He has narrated all his scripts to me. In fact, even he wanted us to go watch the special preview of Attakati once it was done, and
Right.
he's always been close.
Right. Now, just a little while ago, I met Mr. Murli, the cinematographer of the film, and he had something very interesting to say about Kabali as such and how Ranjit has brought in his flavor. He says it's a Rajini's film and also it has a Ranjit's flavor to it.
Yeah.
Would you agree to that?
Of course, 100%.
I mean,
See,
what is his Ranjit's flavor that we should be?
Ranjit, I would say, look, he's a very grounded, honest filmmaker, and the films that he make are very realistic in nature. He doesn't dramatize it, he doesn't cinematize it as such.
Okay.
So you can relate to it. You can see that happening in everyone's life. So that is the flavor that he's carried across in all his films. And to imagine Rajini sir coming into that space itself was a huge thing. But Rajini sir was, I think he wanted him to reinvent himself. And that's one of the reasons why Ranjit was offered this. We were all excited when it was first offered, and we wanted to showcase him, Rajini sir, in a way that none of the other filmmakers have shown him.
Right.
So, and how do we do that? It all started from there. The past 1 year, Ranjit has done his research from Malaysian, he's gone talk to Malaysian gangsters who are part of, all these gangs, and he has observed how they talk, what are the lingo, whatever the language that they use. There's a lot of that has been incorporated into the film itself. Ranjit could have gone easily the other way around and said he could have completely created a new world of Malaysia, which none of us would have experienced anyway. But he wanted it to be realistic in nature, this film itself, so that people could relate to it.
Right.
So a lot of work has been gone into that.
Right. Now, after Madras, right, when this film was finally announced that Ranjit is going to direct Rajni sir, so a lot of people expected it to be like, okay, Rajni sir is leaving behind his stardom and getting into a very different space. But when we saw the trailer, the teaser, it was so stylish that now I'm confused. Now I still see Rajni sir the star than a creation of Ranjit's imagination. You've edited the film obviously, so can you throw some light into that?
No, see, we can't. See, one thing is we were very clear that we didn't want to take away Rajni sir's charisma, his style.
Okay,
that will be a sin. People will not forgive you if you do that.
I think those requests will turn into
Exactly. We didn't want that. We didn't want him to completely alienate his own mannerisms and whatever. We wanted to take that and incorporate that into the script, and also make that as part of the script rather than that being away from it. So that has been done in a very subtle manner, wherein you feel that whatever Rajni sir does in this film is also part of the script. How a 55-year-old guy, Don, would behave, and that's how he has totally portrayed himself in this character. But I would also like to add that we will get to see Rajni sir's acting per se, which was there in his previous films. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but the realistic nature, the way he has acted in his old STI blockbusters like Mavlum Malarum and all that, we can get to see a glimpse of that Rajni sir in this film.
Okay, so is that the reference why they say, tell them the 25 years back, the same Kabali is back now?
True.
So,
I mean, it's also when I first saw the rushes of the film, the moment I got to that particular shot, I thought that fits in perfectly to the script and also perfectly to what Rajni sir is now. So I knew that had to be the teaser. So I reflected that back to Ranjit, and Ranjit said, let's go ahead with it. He was a little worried that maybe it will hype up quite a bit, which is what it is right now. And but eventually I convinced Ranjit and said, this is what the script is all about, let's go with it. And it was pretty much okay. And everyone who watched the teaser wanted it to be played back like twice or thrice.
I know, right? Yeah.
So that kick itself, when you get that in the edit room, once it goes out for sound, sound mixing, RR and all that, it is only going to go higher up from there.
Now, in a recent interview, you described the film as very emotional as well as a gangster action film, right? So, when you say emotional, what exactly are you referring to there?
So the film is about a man's personal journey in discovering what he's lost over the past 25, 30 years.
Okay.
And he's trying to figure out whatever he's lost. He's trying to go and he's going in search of all that. In that sense, it's a very personal point of view of the main Kabali himself. So that is where the emotional aspect kicks in, and you also have all this, the rise and the growth of the Don and how he comes back and becomes what he was.
Right.
All that has been incorporated into the script, and since we have never seen Rajini sir doing that, so that gives you a kick when you watch the film.
But isn't that his usual theme that almost every film has, that rags to riches to again?
I wouldn't say rags to riches. This one's a totally different concept. It is more about what he's lost. He's already a Don. That's where the film
you
opens
start
up.
from the end and then go back to discovering.
And then you start revealing what has happened in his life and all that.
Okay.
So which has been done in a very interesting manner. And the younger version is where a lot of people are going to like him.
Okay.
And hopefully we are all pretty excited when that episode comes in the film. So I'm sure the audience will love it as well.
Right. Now, it's the biggest project of your career, if I can say that, because of stardom and all that. So, was it too big a opportunity for you, or did it seem risky at any stage, or?
No, it wasn't risky. Obviously, everyone dream. It's a dream for all of us, and but I didn't expect it to come along my way. I mean, none of us expected it.
What, when Ranjit went and narrated, you didn't think that?
No. When the opportunity came to Ranjit, it was like whether Rajini sir will say yes or no. It was always that. But when Rajini sir said yes, it was like it took us close to like a couple of days to even digest the fact that okay, I think we are actually going to work on this films, and how many people get this opportunity? So that was always there, but we were all pretty excited. And it was also a responsibility to present him in a very, because it was a huge for Rajini sir to place his trust on this young team was a huge thing.
Right.
So for us to deliver it right was also for us it was a lot of back and forth. Should we do this or should we not do this? So eventually, when the script was locked after 4.5 months, everyone had a say in it to say this could be done, this can be done. Let's take Rajini sir's elements and place it here, place it there. All of that happened. Yes.
So it's a very collaborative process.
Yes,
right?
yes. All Ranjit's films are that.
Okay.
Even for Madras, after the script was done, we had a session wherein we all sat down and spoke about what needs to be done or what needs to be shot and all that. So it's always that.
Right. Now, it's interesting that you talk about being a young team and a big opportunity. So in a way, almost like the entire Tamil film industry is watching you guys very closely to see if you can handle a Rajini sir's film, right? What sort of feedback have you got? Like, are people really curious about what you guys are doing? Or?
Everyone's curious, definitely everyone's curious. I mean, how many people get a chance to direct Superstar just like in his third film? And everyone was waiting for us. See, the first look posters created a certain level of curiosity. And see, no one was sure in what angle this film was going to come out. And when the teaser came out, a lot of people have called me and said, we didn't have trust when it was announced, but after seeing the teaser, I'm sure you guys would have rocked. That was the feedback a lot of people called me, even from Telugu actually. So that gave us a little bit of confidence and saying, okay, maybe we are on the right track. Not that we were not confident enough about the film, but we were also a little worried about how it was going to be projected across. Since the songs have come out now, everyone's liking the songs as well. So I think we have found the right balance about how to present them.
Right. Now, you said it's a collaborative process with Ranjit always. So what were your early discussions like during that scripting stage? You're very close to him, right? I mean,
See, generally when we were shooting Madras, the whole theme of the film was about its wall. It revolves around the wall, which was interesting by itself. And if you actually, I'm not too sure if you watched the film, but
I haven't.
okay, it's a very script, story-oriented film, wasn't there? You could actually take Karthi sir away and put someone else in there, and it would still work. But thing is, Karthi sir coming on board made the film huge.
Right.
And it revolves until the first half. We're not too sure whether Karthi sir is the hero or the other guy is the hero. So that's how it was written. And when I first read the script, after I finished the first half, I remember calling up Karthi sir and asked him, which role are you playing? You know, it was in that sense. And coming to Madras, Ranjit, when he first offered me the script and after we read it, he said he didn't want the camera to be like away from the actors themselves. He wanted the camera to be part of the whole narrative process. So the camera angles were designed in that way, the way it was shot or conceived was designed in that way. The dialogues were written in that way. And a lot of things were taken out from the script stage itself, even before it was shot. But it was always a back and forth thing. In most films, even for Kabali, we did that. But for Kabali, we actually wanted to do, we knew when it was written, it was a little lengthier. But Ranjit, cameraman sir, and all of us discussed about that, and then we thought, let's shoot it, and then we'll decide on the table later on what to incorporate and what not to incorporate.
Oh, okay.
So it was done in that sense.
So it's more work for you to figure out what works, what doesn't.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it is. I wouldn't say more work because that's what happens in every other film also. Okay. But this one we wanted to take that a little further up because it was going to be shot in Malaysia. And there was always a scope of improvisation over there. Yeah. So all that was, we thought we'll just do that first and then come back and decide what we want.
Right. Now, this is something about your work, editing. When you're sitting on the editing table and talking about protecting that emotional quotient of that scene. So what is it that you're looking at and what is it that you're trying to keep in the scene and chop it off?
No, see, every time when I watch a particular scene, I look at it and what the scene is trying to convey across to the audience. Suppose it's about, at the end of the day, every scene has one line or a single sentence of what it is trying to convey. As long as we reach that goal enough, right, it doesn't need to be any lengthier than that. Okay. So that's the first thing that I look at. And I also look at the performance of the artist. After all, they would have worked so hard to deliver something there, and me as an editor, if I'm going to miss that and just chop it off and keep it to what it is supposed to convey, then it won't work scene wise. So these are two things that I mainly look forward to. I also look at it on the bigger picture once after we start cutting the scenes and when we start assembling the whole timeline itself. So I see whether the scene will fit into the story or the narrative. Or if you could actually take that scene out by doing, sometimes you could just add a couple of words in dubbing and just take the entire scene out. A lot of instances that has happened. So.
Right. What about Kabali? Like, was that one of the biggest challenges? Because Kabali, they're such big performers, right?
Yes,
Rajinikanth,
yes,
Radhika Apte and Sampath, right?
Kabali, a lot, see, after the first schedule was done, we went through all the scenes and decided, okay, maybe we could dramatize this a little bit more, or maybe we need to shoot a little bit more about the gangsters themselves. So we had a lot of back and forth for that as well. It was improvised, a lot was improvised. It's a new world for all of us, going from Chennai to Malaysia and figuring out what the dons were up to, how the gangsters behave. So everything's pretty much new. So we had to go there, learn new things from the people who have been gangsters or who have been, part of gangs themselves. So after talking to them, a lot more ideas come into you and see how you can incorporate that into your script. So it becomes realistic. You don't feel as if it was, how do I put it? It was cinematized.
Right. Now, off the topic, I'm curious to know, are you a very emotional person? Are you very sensitive as a person? Would you describe yourself like that?
Not really.
Not?
No.
Okay. So, because as an editor, you're watching a scene some 1,000 times, trying to make a very logical decision whether they should be there or not. So, if you're not really, obviously, after a few reruns, you will lose interest in that scene. So, how do you still get yourself on that table and say, no, this is what we are looking at?
No, that's a very tough job being an editor actually. If you're going to get emotionally attached to your content, right. At the end of the day, you will not be able to get into a position to get it out of your system or get it out of your film itself if it is not required. I think most editors have this inborn ability not to get attached. because most directors have that ability to get attached because they would have gone there shot for a particular shot, they would have spent 5 hours to shoot it. They would have gone through so much trouble to get it right, and eventually when it doesn't fit into the narrative, when you want to chop it off, they feel all these things come into their head. That player part, they'll probably say, I had to struggle so hard to get this particular shot, and you're just chopping it off like that. But that's the thing with editors, you see, they don't get attached so that they're supposed to do the job right.
How do you resolve that difference of opinion? Let's say a director.
Usually, see, it comes to a point where when it is not, we discuss, and I convey across my point of view of why it needs to be there or why it doesn't need to be in the film itself. And the director has their own take or view about it. We leave it until the dubbing phase.
Okay.
So most directors say, sorry, let's finish it. Let's finish the dub and then we decide. Until the dubbing, it goes there. And once in dubbing, you get a lot of people coming and watching it. The directors watching it again and again.
Right.
They start thinking. If you plant that idea across in their head, they'll start thinking from that angle itself. So a lot of directors have come back and said, okay, let's take it out after dubbing.
Right. There are two ways, right? Now you either prefer having the director in the edit suite to take that final call, or you do the final version and then show it to the director and he makes his suggestions. So what is your game plan? Like,
for me, I'm easy. I actually tune myself to how the director works.
Okay.
So if the director wants me to cut and give him a different version of than what he has thought about, I work that way. If he wants to sit down, for an example, Vasandabalan sir, whom I worked with, he prefers to sit down with me while I edit.
For Kavya Talaivan.
For Kavya Talaivan, yes. On the other opposite direction, if you look at Venkat Prabhu, he doesn't come to the edits at all. Okay. He says, you finish it. I'll come back and watch it once you're done with it, that's all. But generally, if you ask me personally what my personal opinion would be, I would say I want to get inputs from the director on what he wants in this particular scene or on the particular episode that we are working on, and then I'd say, let me try and get to a new version. Because most probably I would look at it in a different perspective than how they shot it. So that might give you a different alternative for them to work on.
Right. Now coming back to Kabali, what was the toughest part for you as an editor? Like to find that emotional quotient in the film, or was it how do we present it and mount it as a big Rajini sir's film?
See, Kabali, we had a lot of challenges per se, as in, one thing was not to cross over more than what we are supposed to, especially when it comes to superstars, image factor and all that.
Yeah.
So that was a major challenge. I've seen that happening in most big hero films. You have to satisfy their core audience, which is their fan base. On top of it, you need to also convey across what your script is all about. That was again a challenge here in Kabali as well. But we were very particular that it has to be an actor's film. As a lot of acting needs to be incorporated. It needs to be presented in a very realistic and a live manner. That thing we didn't want to go over dramatize any particular scene or just have it for the sake of having some bringing in some emotion, fake emotions. That's what we call. All that will never be there. The film itself, there's one entire chunk where you see the rise and the rise of the Don himself. So that was a very hard thing to cut because we had a lot of footage. Everything was shot in detail, but we have to bring it down because obviously that would become a film by itself. We have it. We didn't want it to be lengthier. So to bring it down to a level where the emotion is also intact and also the story is conveyed. So that was a hard part to work on.
You recently said that the first fight where the character is established is more than enough for people to fall in love with the character. But that's not the film by itself, right? So,
of course.
So what is this about this 55-year-old man that you find very charismatic as an editor?
See, the Don or the character, first thing first, when you get into the film, you see Rajini sir himself and him playing with his beard and all that. But when it comes to the character himself, it's a very emotional film, like I said before. It's about his travel, and the first 15-20 minutes, you start relating to him so much that you want him to win, you want him to go find what he has lost in his 25 years. So that comes out really well, and the moment you start getting attached to his character himself, I think you'll start traveling along with him in this film. That's the main core idea, and that's where we are all banking on. Hopefully that should work out.
Now you are a big Rajini fan, I believe. And,
Of course.
film.
Who isn't?
Who isn't? So you met him before the film began, right? And you were also there at the shoot.
Yeah.
So what were your conversations with him? Like,
No, when we first met him, before we went for shoot, Rajni sir wanted to meet the core team, so we all went and met him. We thought it would be like a 5-minute hi-bye time, but we ended up sitting with him for an hour and a half. He was inquiring about each and every one of us. He was asking us what were the films that we worked on, and he loved Santosh music. He talked about Madras, he talked about this particular character in Madras and why he liked it. So it went on close to an hour and a half, and finally he said, "You guys have done so many films, how are you not part of this media frenzy? Stay away from the media." That's what he said. and see, since you met him, we all wanted to take pictures with him, and everyone was like, how do we ask him? He was sweet enough to, I think, Santosh wife asked for a picture, and then we all lined up. So he got that. It took us, for me, it took me like close to, I was like shivering for the next 2 hours. You don't expect that. So after shoot, after post that, I met him a couple of times in shoot. It was very nice, small conversations, not big. Okay. He'll say, how are you? How's your work and all that.
But very intense as an actor, is it? Like once he's in front of the camera?
Oh, I've seen him change. See, the moment you say, sir, camera rolling, he's a different man. And once he's off camera, he's a different man. I've seen that happen, and I was like mesmerized.
Right. Now, you're almost done with the film. Probably a few more days to go before your work gets done. So what is it that a hardcore Rajini fan can expect from the film?
The regular fanboy Rajini sir movements, and also, so what is different about this film is Rajini sir's character in this film itself has never been done. He has never portrayed a role like that, and that should come across really well for the audience. And it is also set in Malaysia, so the entire geography of the film is also different. Okay. And the whole angle of this gangsterism is also something that we can look forward to. For me personally, I like the younger Rajini sir in the film, so that should work. Like I said, it is again, if you expect it to be a proper fight and like a 10-fight gangster film, it wouldn't be that. So you should also come prepared that it's an emotional film. It's also a journey of his life once he's out. So if you come and see this film in that angle, you'll be a very satisfied audience.
Right. Now, you've been working closely with a lot of the younger filmmakers. A lot of upcoming directors want to work with you, and at any given point of time, you're working on almost 8 to 10 films. Has your role as an editor evolved in the past 4 or 5 years?
No, of course. If you don't evolve, then I think you're stuck somewhere. I personally tell myself that I need to change from film to film. If you give me a film of mine that I had cut like 6 months ago, I would still make changes to it. Okay. Maybe my mindset at that point of time, 6 months ago or a year ago, was different, and today it's different. The way I look at things are different. So it has definitely evolved. If I don't evolve, I think I'll be stuck.
No, what I mean was, do you see yourself mentoring a lot of young?
Oh, in that sense, yes, of course. See, now that I've worked with a lot of people, producers, directors, and heroes themselves. A lot of ideas come to me, and they narrate a story to me. They ask me if I can refer, even if I'm not going to be part of their crew. So they ask me if I can put in a word to a particular hero or a particular producer. That happens all the time. And also they come to me for script advice per se, even before they start writing scripts. If they hit up on one line or an idea, they come back and ask me, I have like a couple of ideas, which one do you think will work? And a lot of that happens.
When you read a script, what is it that you're looking at? Like, Is it the emotion or is it the overall
No,
structure?
I look at it, what is the different angle that it's going to be conveyed. See, most of the topics that we have coming out in films have already been done. So you take love, you take crime, you take thriller, everything's been done. But how is it presented across to the audience is where my whole interest lies in. And that's how I look at it, even in a script. When people narrate it to me, I actually should tell you this. I listen to stories. I take the narration and actually get all the scripts across, whatever I think I like, and I time it across and I give it to the directors even before they go for shoot.
Okay.
So that your edit happens right from the scripting stage itself.
Oh, okay.
And that saves a lot of money for the producers and also for the directors. They save on shooting time. Mainly, I look at how differently it is presented across. Let's suppose if it's a thriller, what is the angle that is being taken across to convey the story. And if I don't like it, I actually tell people straight on their face and say it won't work. Please don't go ahead and do. Or I tell them very in a polished manner. I'll say that don't do it as your first film.
Okay. So that's the code word.
It keeps changing from time to time, but. Generally, most ADs are they are very okay when you suggest across them something, and certain times after you worked on so many films, you kind of tend to know what a particular hero might like or what a particular producer might like. I tell them that you have to improvise this to elevate the hero's image, and they might expect you to have a fight or a song sequence related to this character, and these are small suggestions that we keep on making.
You're just contradicting yourself. You said you're not really an emotional person, but everything that you've explained now is like you're so emotionally invested.
I'm not an emotional person per se. I didn't say I'm not when it comes to my work.
Okay.
That is my work. But if you ask me personally, yes, I'm not. It takes a lot.
Right. Now, you've been one of the been very vocal about the role of editors in current contemporary Tamil cinema itself. And analog has completely gone. Now it's all digital. Obviously, workload has also increased, right?
Of course, yeah.
So much of processing time for. So have people finally understood that okay, we need to give editors their space and time, or are they still in a rush to?
No, the rush will always be there. People, it's always be there. It's your job to try and make them understand why you need more time. See, I think I'm lucky enough to have come to a stage where people, when you tell them, they actually listen to you and say, okay, sir, even for Kabali, when I told Ranjit that I would need a month to give the first cut, he said, okay, take your time and deliver it. Such a big film, I didn't want to rush and goof things up. So I took the time to polish it right and then send it across for dubbing. Because the moment you send it for dubbing, a lot of people are going to watch it and then your first comments are going to be from there. So I didn't want to take that risk. For every film, I think most these days, that's how it is. People, see, when it comes to the first cut or until the dubbing stage, they give you that space, but once the dubbing is over, right, they'll start assuming that you can deliver the film in 3 days. So that is still there. Hopefully it will change.
No, the awareness about cinema has increased so much over the past year. So now everybody, not just film critics but audience also, they say, oh, it's so well edited, it's so beautifully cut. When you hear comments like that, what is it that you think are they thinking? What is your understanding of?
One thing I don't like when these critics or when people review, I don't like it when they say the length could have been chopped off. The editor should have done that. See, it is not just the editor's job to trim the length factor. It is also part of his job. He has got several things to do in a film rather than worrying about a length. I don't think they should start writing about length and the editors alone, because it's a director's call as well. Sometimes the director says, I need this in my film. For Tola, I actually wanted to trim down Tola Upri. I actually wanted to trim down like 3 or 4 minutes of the final product, but when she said no, we had a good conversation, and he said, he put his point across and said, in fact, I wanted to trim another 7 minutes, not 3 minutes. He said he believed that it would work in the theatres. He said the audience need this emotion, and I said I don't think we need this. And eventually, what he said was right once it came across to the theatre. So, see, if it was a healthy discussion, then I think I'm okay. Otherwise, when they say the editor could have speeded up things. They could have, paced up things. All that is like, I feel it is nonsense, to be very honest. Because you never know what was chopped off or what was not a part of the film. So obviously the objective towards commenting about that film won't be right until you get to see what was not incorporated.
Have you ever been proven wrong? As in, like, let's say you're arguing that no, we should remove the scene, the director wants it, but you reluctantly put it because at the end of the day it's his film. But in the end, it would actually work in the film's favor.
Yes. Sometimes, I just told you about Tola. And when this happens for most of the films, I think. For Chennai 28, which is a very famous film here across the Tamil people, there's this scene where Prem says, "Enna Kudama sir idu," which is a very famous dialogue. I mean, it took off quite well after the film's release. I wanted to actually trim it in the film.
Seriously?
I said it won't work.
I don't think Prem would ever forgive you for taking that.
I just met him last night and he still keeps saying that you wanted to trim that scene, right? There are a lot of instances, yes. You cannot, you can't be 100% right all the time.
But you are the first person to view the film completely, so a lot depends on your judgment of the film.
Correct.
So,
no, sometimes it is also, as a human being, you're also prone to make errors or your judgment can also go wrong. So it is always a balance. You also keep learning. Sometimes today when I go to the theatre, I look at the audience more than the film to see how their expressions or what their views are. So
I heard you don't watch Tamil films at all in theatres?
No, I do. Of course I do. How do you know what's happening around you? Of course I do.
Right.
I only go to the theatres only if someone recommends and says the movie is really good.
It. Okay.
So the first day shows are really rare for me.
Okay, right. Now, just final two questions. You're reuniting with Venkat Prabhu for the sequel of Chennai 28. Like, a lot of anticipation about it. So I'm sure you know the script, but so what is it that we can expect this time around?
See, Chennai 28 Part 2 again is going to be as humorous as the first one is going to be. Venkat, he has brilliantly incorporated the first part skeleton in the second half as well, in the second part as well. So all the incidents or chapters that happen in the first half have also been taken off, also been done in the second part, but they are presented in a different way.
Okay.
The way these guys, again, it's all about cricket and why they play cricket. They start off the first part of the film. They're not in a position to even play cricket. They're all old. They're all married, and what makes them to play cricket is all the stories. What the story is about. And it's done really well, I should say. I had a 3-hour laugh when he was narrating it, and pretty much even when the scenes came out after the first schedule was over, I had a very good laugh and said, I told Venkat that we should re-release first part so that people get to see it and then start relating to the second part as well. Hopefully that should turn out to be one of the good films.
I'm curious to know who wins the tournament in the end of first part, because you don't show it, right?
No.
I mean, was that short or was that
how
it was left?
It was just left like that.
Right.
So, the second part will also have something similar to that. That's why I said all the hints, all the skeleton was taken from there, and he has woven it around that.
Right. About Vijay's next film, again, big buzz about that film as well. So you started working on it, or other rushes?
They just finished shoot yesterday, and I think they should be back tomorrow. We should be starting sometime middle of next week once things we organize. The release is only for Pongal next year.
Okay.
A lot of time to work on that, and it's been shot in a very relaxed manner, and that's how we are approaching it. A little too early to talk about the film, but I could say that it's a very racy script. When Bardhan sir narrated to us, and a lot of humor in it as well. Bardhan sir is known for his writing, his dialogues and all that. The mass dialogues of Vijay sir has all been done. Pakka commercial entertainer, I should say. Hopefully that should work.
One final question: has there been any film in the recent past which you regretted that you couldn't work on it? Like
Jigardanda.
Jigardanda? Okay. What was it about that film which blew so much?
The entire film itself, the way it was presented across, the edits, the actors in it, the people, the Karthik Subbaraj, the way he wrote the script. In fact, he came down once and I don't know what happened. I have to ask him now. He came down and he said he's going to do a flick similar to Arne Gandam. It's about a gangster film and all that. So he talked very well and I said, we'll meet up sometime next week. And then I said, I'll hear the script. And he said, okay. But after that, no one came across.
Okay.
You know, it eventually went to Vivek, who's a good friend of mine. But when I saw the film itself, I realized that I should have at least pestered Karthik at some point and asked him that I should have worked on this film, is what I felt. I told him that as well once after I met him.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime.
All the best for Kabali. We really hope that you get none of the comments that you said that about the runtime and all that.
No, I think Kabali should do well and hopefully it should satisfy all the fans. So.
Right. What's your favorite scene in the film? Do you have a favorite scene?
I told you the younger version.
Oh,
of
the
Benny
younger
Sir.
version.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
So before leaving, any final words to our iDream viewers?
I've been following iDream. You guys have been doing a fabulous job. When I was actually coming in for the interview, I was mulling over on what to talk about because you've been asking very sensible questions.
I hope I haven't disappointed you now.
No. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.